Hey guys, welcome to Operation PlayStation episode 9. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Paul James. What's going on, Padge?
Not a lot, really. What about you?
Hey, it's been a funny week. Obviously,
You're telling me.
What's that?
I said you're telling me.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, you're back at work this week, and I am. This is basically my job for the next 6 months. I have left.
Talk about it.
My full-time job, and am now doing content creation full-time. So this is going to be a lot of fun to do. So I'm really excited. And
I'm the anchor holding you back. So don't worry about it.
Correct.
Oi.
Oh my god. Guys, if you didn't know, this is Operation PlayStation-Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest that PlayStation have to offer, including next-gen gaming. If you like that, make sure that you subscribe to us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. We can give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. Yeah, 5. And
no,
also
just 5 here. Just dish out 5
give us
everywhere.
those 10-star ratings, and also
break the scale.
Catch us over on dashgamer.com for our VOD after the show. Now, Padge, there is some housekeeping to get through tonight.
As ever.
For dashgamer.com, our Man-Eater review is now live, so head on over there, check it out. By the time the show goes up, our Mafia 2 Definitive Edition review, thanks to the kind folk over at 2K ANZ, who provided us a review for that, will be live, so make sure you guys head over and check that one out. But we'll also be discussing that on this show with Mr. Ryan BETSON from For The Players, so make sure that you stick around and give it a bell. The Last of Us State of Play, Operation PlayStation, will be live this Thursday night. We'll be talking about it on Twitch with you guys live Thursday night. And the podcast will be available on podcast feeds Friday morning. The Dash Gamer podcast, episode 33, is now live on feeds as well, so make sure that you head on over and check that out. And for the very last time, next Monday night, 7 p.m, live right here on twitch.tv/dashgamer with a 3, not an E, it is the Dash Culture finale episode, where myself and Buddy Watson, we're basically talking about stuff. It'll be our final show. Myself and Buddy will be sitting down talking about the last 2 to 3 years of creating content together, and also catching up on some of the highlights of the past 6 months, and our excitement for next gen and all the other stuff that we pretty much missed out on in conversation.
Week off for me. Woo!
It's a week off for Paul, but it won't be a week off for BETSON, because we will return the following night for the Dash Gamer podcast. Paul, what have you got?
So we spoke about it last week, because I basically revealed it on last week's episode of the Dash Gamer podcast. But Mark Cook of Shiny Shoe, he recently put out Monster Train on the PC. He's the latest Dev Diary guest. You may not know Monster Train. It is currently locked only to PC, but you might also know some games like Grim Fandango that he worked on.
Oh, very nice.
Or this little thing that never quite saw the light of day called StarCraft Ghost. He's also worked on games with Suda51 and a whole bunch of, it's a really interesting career that's kind of taken him lots of different directions. Shadows of the Damned was that Suda51 game. Some really interesting titles, range of different places over the journey. Definitely one to go listen to, so go check that out.
Nice.
It's not PlayStation related, but Who's That Pokemon, the latest entry that we get friends of the show, Drew Agnew, Bryce DeWitt, and Hope Corrigan that does some work for Player 2 and IGN as well. Cool. We all come together and just talk shit about a particular Pokemon. We definitely spoke a lot of shit about Porygon Z. And we're going to talk about this particular game in a little bit more detail later, but I did a Player 2 plays that is relevant to the PlayStation fans. I did it on Marvel's Iron Man VR. The demo is available now. The full game's a little way off.
Yeah.
Only a month or so.
Yeah.
Go check that out.
Yeah. Oh, can I put out a little PSA for anybody out there who's listening to the show, and I may have added you on PSN. I may have deleted you by accident this week. My apologies. I did a mass group restructure, and I accidentally deleted a bunch of people, so I'm sorry about that for anybody out there. Buddy came up to me today and goes, "You deleted me off PSN." I'm like, calm down, it was an accident. I know, I deleted everybody from high school. So just a little PSA for anybody out there. If you're off my PSN list, it's an accident. So
I'm going to
let me know.
Go take a look now and see if he deleted his number one PlayStation podcast in
Yes,
Australia
and
host.
Buddy says in the chat, accident.
I'll have some choice words for you if I'm gone, you piece
No,
of shit.
no, you're not, thankfully. You're not gone, so that was good. But anyway.
I'm watching you.
I deleted like all my high school friends off PSN, man, and a couple of them were pissed. But yeah, because I like even Buddy was like, "You deleted me off PSN." I'm like, "I didn't mean it. Calm down." But this is not the drama show. This is a PlayStation news show, and it is time for us to dive right into the news. All right, Padge. So the first bit of news comes by way of PlayStation, directly from the PlayStation blog.
The blog.
Yes. So this one comes from Sid Schumann over at PlayStation, who says, The Last of Us, I should say, State of Play, get a preview of The Last of Us Part 2 on Wednesday. And obviously for Thursday for us. But tune in Thursday at 6 a.m. for Australia. But what the article reads is, Hi, we're putting... it says, Hi all. We're putting hi all. We're putting the finishing touches on a new episode of State of Play that will air this Wednesday, May 27th at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Naughty Dog Vice President and The Last of Us Part 2 director Neil Druckmann will give you a special preview of The Last of Us Part 2 coming to PS4 June 19th. Neil will walk you through the details of the gameplay experience and story. The current cut is clocking in a little more than 20 minutes, ending with an extended sequence showing off about 8 minutes of never before seen gameplay. And no, there won't be any PS5 news or updates in this episode. Hey, just to make sure, we don't want to piss you guys off. No, there won't be any PS5 news. All right.
It's better to be transparent, I guess.
Very much so.
They did the same with Ghost.
Oh yeah, something I can appreciate. Okay, so Padge, it's no secret right now that the game is in quite a number of outlets' hands. Unfortunately, we still don't have it. That's okay. We're patient.
That's right. Can't wait for it.
Oh, definitely. But we... So what was the... because I can't remember off the top of my head. Was it June 12th again when the embargo drops?
Embargo lifts, this is Australian time, I might add Australian Eastern time, June the 12th at 5:01 p.m.
Very nice.
Specifically.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to that. That's a week before the game launches. So that says some strong things too about their bullishness about how this thing is going to perform.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we can read into that, and maybe we can discuss that in our episode later in the week.
Yeah.
But look, good to hear.
Yeah. We'll get some information.
I'm thrilled that that Sid in any no way, shape or form did he lean into the fact that there's obviously spoilers out there.
Yep.
Not indicating whether this is stuff that has leaked or whether it's stuff that's not, and blah blah blah. I like that they're just keeping to their messaging regardless. And then the only thing on top of that is that I hope that whether you watch on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, they just disable the comments. Just fuck off and just watch the thing.
And now with Twitter's new tools that they've implemented.
Yeah, layer that on top of that. Yeah. Like just go hard. Like
exactly, yeah.
No one needs to accidentally see these things just as they open up the YouTube stream. So before they've had a chance to then click on, disable comments or hide comments, and the first thing they see is Joel's a ghost, and they're on an alien planet, and all that sort of shit. Oh, sorry. I hadn't even seen him yet. I didn't realize I hit the nail on the head there.
Ryan in the chat says the comments on that State of Play will be hard. Buddy in the chat says weird. Getting early would be cool. Weird. Getting early would be cool if. But I feel like, Buddy, can you stop typing like NATO for frick's sake? Getting early would be cool, but I feel. Getting it early. I get you. Getting it early would be cool, but I feel like it's one of those games that I'd like to play sometime as friends and share those discussions. Yeah, definitely, 100% with you.
I guess to an extent, when you're subtracting the online experience that we had in the original, it loses that a little bit because anyone who's fortunate enough to have the game in their hands right now, and obviously those of us eventually when it comes to everyone else and the public and all those sorts of things, they're still going to get to have those experiences now that people have revealed to the world, hey, I'm playing Game X.
Yeah.
And those people who already have... Game X, The Last of Us Part 2. Now that those people know who else also has it, they know who they can talk to. They can have that experience still. And then the rest of us just wait and get our chance whenever we get our chance.
Well, the problem is...
It is still there.
There is an audience out there that knows what happens now. And
Oh yeah.
with that, I'm actually part of that audience. However, it's just one of those things where I still want to experience it and actually have that conversation with you. In like,
Oh yeah, but like, you know, I think it's Brody Gibbons, for example, at Press Start that's got it. He tweeted out before saying he's got it.
Yep.
He can talk to someone like Milner or Job or some of those guys, other people out in Australia right now who've also got it. They can still have that experience and that conversation, whether it was spoiled for them prior or not. They can still talk about the experience that they had. Yeah. They can still replicate that experience that so many of us are going to get to enjoy somewhere down the line.
Exactly.
It's just those lucky bastards get to have it sooner.
Who knows? Maybe for some of us dirty schlubs, maybe we'll end up getting it sooner rather than later. But we'll see what happens anyway. Buddy also says in the chat, no, don't. Buddy also says in the chat, I'd rather the larger zeitgeist, not just through a reviewing lens. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But at the same time,
that's true.
At the same time, I like having that respect of being like a reviewer who actually has to sit down and actually look at that through a reviewing lens. It's one of those things where, yes, we're going to have to pick it apart regardless. We're going to critique it. We're going to say, I didn't like this, I like this. We're going to be very intricate in our detail and why. So
again, why did they go to an alien planet?
I can appreciate your stance on that, buddy, but the way that it's looked at now in terms of like a reviewer's lens, I can also appreciate that too. So
there's pros and cons to both. That's the nature of the beast.
Correct. 100%. Yes. And I can respect both sides of it too. So our next story of the night, so we'll talk more on The Last of Us 2 on Thursday night with you guys live on Twitch, and we'll be live on podcast feeds Friday morning. The next story of the night, once again, I don't know, this one comes by way of Press Start actually. This one comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, here's EB Games, Big W, Target, and Harvey Norman's days of play sales. Fuck JB Hi-Fi. No, I can actually say that now. So we've covered. So he says,
I didn't do shit.
So we've covered Amazon's. Buddy's. I don't know if Buddy's boss listens to this podcast. I know he listens to the Dash Culture podcast, but I'm not sure if he listens to this one. But anyway, so we've covered Amazon's the cheapest games, and JB Hi-Fi's the best. DualShock, good on them. The days of play deals, and they're probably the best. But here's the rest of the deals. So EB Games, obviously, like every year, we're getting pretty much the same deal with the VR bundle. So PlayStation VR Mega Bundle, camera and 5 games, $329. There's a whole bunch of games here that are going for real cheap at the moment. God of War, once again, back down to like $19. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, $19. A lot of the regulars that we've usually seen over the years go down to that $20 mark. It's interesting to see No Man's Sky still sitting at $25 of all price tags, because I would have expected that to already hit the $20 mark, but okay.
It got, I mean, I guess the next, is that the next version? Sorry, I'm not looking at the actual link.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, Next came out a year ago, so they can kind of twist and go, well, it's not the same version that you could have bought all these years ago. It's only a year old. You know, there's jargon they can kind of wheel out on you there to kind of dodge and skirt a few things to justify the price. It's still dirt cheap, and that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Big W got the DualShock 4, God of War, Spider-Man, or GT Sport, or The Last of Us Remastered at $79. That's a pretty good bundle. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition at $21. I think that's...
Yep.
That's honestly the cheapest I've seen it. That's really good. Harvey Norman are doing crap. Actually, no, their PlayStation VR bundle's actually pretty good. $278. You get the VR, the camera, and PSVR Worlds. That's actually pretty cheap. That must be...
It's not bad.
That's actually pretty good. I haven't seen it that cheap in a while, so there you go.
I think because a lot of the other bundles are coming with more games on top of it, and I think that kind of skews it a little bit. I'm sure if they went like for like, we'd be talking about the same sort of price, but...
Yeah, no, fair enough. Look, the days of play sales are always good every year. It gets, especially for newcomers to PlayStation, especially when you're actually coming to PlayStation and looking to buy a whole bunch of stuff, especially at an end of a generation where you can get all this stuff that they're trying to clear out, as cheap as chips sometimes. But I feel like with PlayStation 4 and the current generation, we really haven't had that price drop hit at all. And I feel like we're not going to get that price drop until after the PlayStation 5 launches this time. Like last generation, we saw the PlayStation 3 drop below $300 before PlayStation 4 hit the market. I feel like they're actually kind of holding back now, especially with COVID being out there right now. They're trying to, make as much money as they can, which is respectable. I can understand that. But at the same time,
Look, we saw a little drop when the Pro came out. The original SKU dropped a smidge. It was $50, $100, something like that. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
We didn't get a mid-gen upgrade last time around. The only option they had was to drop prices. I'm also, like, regardless of where I get it from, maybe I just do it digitally. For some reason, and I have no idea why, and if someone from PlayStation wants to explain it to me, please feel free, because I'm being gouged a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I've had since dating back to the PS3, I've had my 12-year annual subscription. It always just kicks in, and at the end of the 12 months, it renews, and a credit card takes a hit, and I go, oh, shit, PlayStation. Right, okay, cool, awesome. Then out of nowhere, I'm going to say about 6 months ago, suddenly it rolled over and started to become monthly subscriptions.
Okay.
What the fuck's going on here? I knew that eventually we were going to get because it always happens. There's always some discount on your 12 months. So I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I know at retail it's $55. I don't know what's going to be digitally. Like if you just do it through PSN with their days of play sale and what their price is, but I'm going to re-up it to 12 months there, because I have no idea what the fuck's going on here. And it took me a little while to kind of cotton onto it. I go, what the fuck am I getting a receipt for? I didn't buy anything on PlayStation.
Yeah.
1 month subscription. What's this bullshit?
Buddy says in the chats, need to stack up on that PlayStation Plus. And he also says will be same price. Always is. Yeah, he's right. It always is. Yeah. And the thing is, like with these days of play, I find that when you do stack up on that PS Plus as well, you're always saving yourself a shit ton of money, because like PS Plus, $79.95 for a 12-month subscription, you get it during days of play, you're saving yourself just a shit ton. Like I think the last time they had it was like, I don't even know. I haven't even seen what the price is, because I've scrolled through the list, but I don't see a price for PS Plus. Buddy, if you can give me an update on that.
Oh, well, like I said, retail's doing it for $55.
Oh, it's $55. There you go. So it's like $30, almost $30 off the price. $35 off the price. That's pretty good. So there you go. He also says in chat 112 for 2 years versus 160. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's just I can't even work out why this happened in the first place. But I mean, the plus side out of it is, I guess I can save myself a little bit of cash when the time comes. Probably offsets the monthly little bit extra that they've been taking off me, arseholes. But again, I don't even understand how it happened.
Yeah. So any highlights out of these games that are on this list, Paul? Because I
not really.
Death Stranding is definitely one of them. I would recommend at $39. Horizon Zero Dawn, most definitely $19. God of War as well. The Uncharted collection, if you didn't get that free within the last month, that would probably be something I would recommend as well. Anything?
Look, Death Stranding's probably the only. You're right. Probably Death Stranding's the big one there, because everything else, whether it's digitally or at retail, it does have these occasional drops down to $20.
Yeah.
They're the big first party titles that we've seen dominating for years, and they can afford to do that from time to time.
Yeah.
There was a cool one that I saw at EB where if you bought a controller, then you would get a copy of Spider-Man.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's what I read. Yeah,
was
$79 bundle.
Mention that.
Yeah,
which was quite cool. I did see some people comment on the EB. I think it was the Facebook post maybe when it first popped up, saying, "Well, hang on, I just pre-ordered my Last of Us one like a day before this. Can I just cancel, re-pre-order, and then get Spider-Man with it as well?" I'm sitting back on, come on, if you're that desperate for the controller, why the fuck haven't you bought Spider-Man already?
That's right.
But that aside, because clearly there's people like that exist, or maybe they just want to resell it, whatever. I don't know. Surely that's got to be an option for them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Look, there's some good stuff there.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. So make sure you guys check out the Days of Play sale. It's also available digitally on the PlayStation Network, but prices will vary, not may. So check it out on the PlayStation Network as well when you get a chance. The next over of the night comes by way of Push Square. Robert Ramsey over at Push Square says the Iron Man VR demo lands on PlayStation 4 today. Features multiple missions. In the original story he wrote, if you've been itching to try out Marvel's Iron Man VR for yourself before the game's launch on the 3rd of July, then you'd better get ready to suit up. A demo featuring multiple playable missions is hitting the PlayStation 4 today, and giving it a shot will net you the exclusive Molten Lava Armor Deco for use in the full release. Here's a quick list of what the demo includes, courtesy of the PlayStation blog. Malibu tutorial mission, interactive Stark Jet cinematic starring Tony, Friday, and Pepper Potts. Out of the Blue Stark Jet gameplay mission. Flight Challenge optional mission, Advanced Combat Challenge optional mission. In an update to the article, he wrote, the Marvel's Iron Man VR demo, it should just be Marvel's Iron Man VR demo, is available to download right now in the United States and Europe through their respective links. The file size weighs in at 25 gig, but this is a hefty demo as detailed below. Let us know what you think. So, Patch, I know that you got your hands on it.
I did, and the demo is quite cool. I dislike how they've presented the contents of said demo. They're making it look like there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Okay.
Those first 3 dot points, the Malibu, this, that. It's all those 3 things combined make up a 25-minute demo, and probably would have been less if I just wasn't crashing into rocks at the beginning there, as I got my air legs.
Right.
I don't know, whatever, my Iron Man legs, whatever we call it. Who cares?
Yeah.
The combat and flight missions afterwards, they're an optional thing that unlocks when you finish it. I think it's to kind of help build that proficiency in the game. Nothing really any more than that. It's not a huge demo at all.
Right.
And I'm guessing that I'm not 100% sure what look, that's me playing it. Look at that guy. So look, I enjoyed it. I really loved the demo. Like, I'm sold on the whole thing now. I never got a chance to go play it at PAX or any of those sort of things last year because I was busy kind of running around for things like the Avengers or Final Fantasy VII and those other sort of things that PlayStation had there, and I just missed the boat on the Iron Man demo.
Oh yeah.
But I was really, really happy with the experience. But let's not inflate it too much here with our PR speak. It's a cool demo. 25 minutes. Really enjoyed it. Sold on the game even more than I was before. But it's not 25 gig. I guess maybe just inflated a little bit by. Fuck, I don't even know what it's inflated by. I don't know what's really prompting that large file size. But
there's nothing. Is there like
VR tech itself?
Yeah. Is it? But how much is Is it heavy in content or was it very light?
It's pretty light.
Pretty light.
Yeah.
How does it play?
Again, fantastic. It really felt good. Like I've always worried, and a lot of people have always kind of had their concerns about when it comes to the VR controls and how finicky are they and those sort of things. And because it's all based on light, what happens if the camera's obstructed and those sort of things. It seems like because a lot of the time, like what Tony Stark does, you're often hands down and you're kind of propelling yourself towards the sky, and it's all about kind of tilting your wrists to project yourself forward more or lean back a little bit or whatever the case is.
Yep.
And I'm guessing at some point that a degree of I can't even remember. Do the move controls have some form of gyro in it? Or is it completely light-based stuff?
No. It has gyro. Yep.
So I'm guessing at that point the gyro must kick in a little bit to kind of offset the fact that the camera can't see the lights anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden you are pushing yourself forward or back a little bit. I did spend a little while, and they did explain in the tutorial, and I completely forgot it once I started recording for the actual Player 2 plays, right, that to kind of tilt yourself around like horizontally, there's buttons you need to press on the move wands. And I wasn't doing that for a while, so I was crashing into shit a lot at the beginning there.
Right.
It's not no fault of the game. That wasn't me. That was me not reading the instructions properly and not listening. But I really, really enjoyed my time with it.
Awesome. So. How does it look, though? Because from what I'm seeing here on the gameplay, it looks very PlayStation 2 like.
Look, I mean, 2's a little bit harsh, but this is...
All right, early PlayStation 3.
Yeah, we're definitely talking PS3 style visuals, but at the same time, the VR, we've been talking about those constraints on it for quite some time. So.
Right, yeah.
And there's some developers that have worked incredibly well within those constraints, and we see that in the likes of Astrobot and Moss, for example. And then there's others that are trying to, like this, for example, that are trying to go for a more realistic style character model, and it just doesn't work with the constraints of the tech.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Buddy in the chat
you'll also
says,
know, and also just by the way, anyone watching that Player 2 plays, let's just keep in mind, my arms are getting tangled in my cords quite a lot through that, so you'll see me
Buddy in
make
the
a
chat
fool of myself
says,
on a few occasions.
I changed my settings to hot and not snap to left and right movement. Game changer. Oh, there you go. Paige, like, I've got a question for you in terms of VR for PS5. Do you think that we're going to see a massive improvement heading into the next gen for VR at all? Do you think we're going to be expecting more of the same? Because this is probably the perfect display in presentation wise, like graphically, and the way that the gameplay actually moves and how smooth it is, its fluidity and everything. This, from what I'm seeing, this is a great way. This is a great presentation of how PSVR is being perceived on PlayStation 4 and current gen right now. Do you think we're going to see a massive improvement on PlayStation 5?
I mean, not initially, because it seems fairly obvious. Not that anything's been confirmed by PlayStation, but it's fairly obvious that we're not going to get a VR2 at launch. It might take a year or two for that to actually happen. So we're still going to get these style experiences for a little bit longer. But when that successor, I imagine, finally arrives, and I do feel like it's an inevitability, not a what if. I know there's others that will disagree with me there. Yeah. But I expect to see the massive jumps that we're seeing with Oculus Quest, or what Valve managed to produce with Half-Life Alyx and those sort of things. We're not getting those on PSVR now because the tech, we've hit a wall with the tech. Yeah. Specifically around the light use and those sort of things. Yeah. There are still some fantastic games coming in there, and they're working with those constraints really well. And I think Iron Man will be successful in that regard. And we obviously see how things like Beat Saber have adapted to that technology. And there's games that are making it work. But when you can take that barrier down, that's going to make a huge difference. And that's what I'm really hopeful for with a PSVR 2 or whatever kind of comes about.
Interesting. So, the next story comes by once again of Robert Ramsey over at Push Square, who says Sony reiterates sheer speed of PlayStation 5 processing is 100 times faster than the PlayStation 4. It's a speed demon, he says. This isn't the first time that Sony has touted the PlayStation 5's supposedly incredible processing speed, and it definitely won't be the last. In the company's latest corporate strategy document, the PlayStation 5 section has a whole page dedicated to the evolution, to quote, the evolution of speed in the next-gen console, end quote. As you'd expect, the console's custom SSD in the key factor. As you'd expect, the console's custom SSD is a key factor. Is the key factor, I guess. The document reads, quote, in order to further enhance the sense of immersion in games, we expect to improve not just the resolution, but the speed of games, end quote. It continues, quote, for example, through a custom-designed high-speed SSD, should I read this like Mark Cerny? We plan to...
No, don't.
We plan...
This is an entertaining, exciting podcast.
Yes, not exactly. ASMR.
Anything else.
We plan to realize game data processing speeds that are approximately... I listened to that ASMR Mark Cerny video. So soothing.
I haven't yet.
But so good. Approximately 100 times faster than PS4, end quote. That's one juicy bullet point right there. Quote, game load times should be much shorter and players should be able to move through immense game worlds in almost an instant, end quote. That's awesome, dude. 100 times faster than PlayStation 4. This thing is going to be a speed demon, as they say. However, I have noticed a lot of people come forward and be like, as fast as it is, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X and all this other stuff. It's just brought forward that argument again of who's going to be better in the next gen. And once again, we know the specs of the PlayStation 5, we know the specs of the Xbox Series X, but we know nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can people just shut the fuck up about all that stuff? Like maybe you're right. Maybe the Xbox is better, or maybe the PlayStation ends up being better because of the certain ways they're rigging. Like, I could not care less until we've got these things in our hands and we can do some side by sides, and the likes of Digital Foundry can do their best work. Yep. I don't care.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like the 100 times better is there's probably a little bit of dev math in there too.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Great. Did you run a PS3 like that? Is that a PS3 game like that? Is that why it's 100 times faster? Because you can go from a minute, some games that had some abysmal loading, and just go.
I feel like they're over exaggerating anyway. Like 100 times faster is not.
Oh no! Look, there'll be some way that they've rigged it
100 times faster.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it's like anything when it comes to some reporting, and that you can get, like, if you can cherry pick the right examples. If there's a game there that's horrifically slow, and then you optimize it in a certain way, pop it on the PS5. Look now what it's doing; it's 100 times faster. Like, you can do that, and you can skew those numbers. And if you can cherry pick the right examples, it makes the thing look really great.
Yeah,
but then maybe the rest, it's only, I don't know, 20 times faster, for example, which I think most of us will be incredibly happy with.
Yeah.
But pick and choose your examples, and it makes your data look a little more impressive.
Yeah. I got the PS4... I got Spider-Man on screen when they had that presentation a few months back of when they displayed it on the PlayStation 5, running on PlayStation 5. and how they pretty much ran a benchmark test with that game on both the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PS5, and how well it ran and loaded, speeding right through the city. And yeah, look, there's no hitches or loading times or anything on this that is being shown. And I remember how poorly optimized Spider-Man was for PlayStation 4, because let's face it. In that regard. Well, yeah, it was, dude. If I can step out of the lab, your PlayStation 4 is ready for takeoff. That's the sound it used to make. And some of like the technical hiccups that happened during some of the gameplay, it was there. It was evident. Not as bad as Mafia 2, but it was evident. And yeah, look, it's exciting to see that they've gone that far. However, 100 times faster, it makes me question whether they are exaggerating that from a marketing purpose, just to kind of,
and that kind of cycles back to my point before. If you can find you can cherry pick the right example, you can present this number that is fantastic, and Ryan BETSON all the way over in Geelong just lifts the table as a result. So
yeah,
sorry, bud.
Yeah. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what the actual speeds are when it does drop. I believe that we are in for a wild ride when next gen hits. It'll be definitely a great demonstration of how powerful some of these consoles will be when they drop this December, if they do drop this December. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. Anyway, let's move on to the next story of the night. This one comes by way of Joseph Noop over at IGN, who says the PlayStation Plus free game for June is Call of Duty World War II. More game details coming. Yeah, this is one of them. Now there was an obvious leak today, and we also include Spider-Man in this talk as well. That Spider-Man may actually be included within these PlayStation Plus games. Sony accidentally this morning put Spider-Man part of PlayStation Plus for free, and some people took advantage of that situation, and they have it in their library. Congratulations to them. But yeah, the article reads here, one of PlayStation Plus free games for the month of June has been announced, Call of Duty World War II, the 2017 installment of the long-running first-person shooter franchise will be made free on May 26th. PlayStation added that they'll share additional details of June's free games lineup later this week. Typically, PlayStation Plus free game lineups include about 2 PS4 games, 2 PS3, and possibly 2 other titles. Have they still been including PlayStation 3 titles, have they?
No.
Yeah,
that is some incorrect reporting there.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. Look, Call of Duty World War II, fair enough for people who love their Call of Duty. I got no interest, to be honest. I played World War II already. It was fine. Probably, I think people are getting a little too excited at the prospect of having a free Call of Duty title available to them on PlayStation Plus. World War II wasn't a standout Call of Duty title, in my opinion. I thought it was okay. I think people were making a big fuss about it because they were going back to like old school war on Call of Duty, but I don't remember it being so groundbreaking when it actually launched after, and people were like, "Oh, this is it."
Look, it's a marketing thing because we've obviously seen the leaks and stuff about the latest Black Ops being based in we're going back in that one as well. What war are we going back to? Cold War. It was a Cold War based one.
Yep.
And different wars, but we're going back to the past, and they're trying to make that little link. Like, hey, remember going back to the past and enjoying those sort of Call of Duties? Well, here's another one coming this October. Yeah. Spider-Man's not happening. That thing was a mistake. So? No, that was a mistake I'm sure they've made, in the same way that apples and oranges here, but in the same way that NAC 2 was free in Australia for a brief period at one point, and I downloaded that bad boy or started downloading it before they cancelled everyone's accidental purchases.
Okay, you called me out last week on making like rash judgments and decisions, all right? That was a rash one, because there are reports out there that suggest that it very well could be PlayStation Plus game next month. You are like definite, like, no, it's not happening.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty definitive about the whole thing. You just, like, PlayStation has no history of going that big. Call of Duty, regardless of the fact that maybe World War II isn't the biggest and best, it's the biggest franchise in the world. And Spider-Man is right up there, the very top selling thing, and the thing that kind of is almost the deal breaker for me is that it's being heavily advertised in the days of play for the discounts.
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up.
Okay, so what would
there's enough there that's kind of not gelling for me, that's all.
So how would you so Buddy agrees with you, I highly doubt that Spider-Man PS Plus. Okay, cool. So I'll argue this because I haven't really made a decision either way. I'm on the fence about it as well. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no, but it's there. Like it was available. It did say free on PlayStation Plus this morning for a limited time because that was obviously a mistake. But what if it is going to come on PlayStation Plus? And the reasoning for that is for PlayStation Plus, for existing PlayStation Plus subscribers who carry over to the PlayStation 5, they have it already in their library. And because of what we just saw on that demo footage that was shown, people get to experience Spider-Man on the PlayStation 5 because
day and date.
Yeah, day and date, and actually get to see it. Get to see the PlayStation 5's true performance from a PlayStation 4 game being translated over to the PlayStation 5 with their legacy mode.
I mean, that's nice.
Yeah.
But the overwhelming majority of people who want to play Spider-Man and might even want to play Spider-Man on a PS5 already have Spider-Man on a PS4, whether it's digitally or physically, and they'll still be able to pop their disc in, or they'll be able to boot up their thing because we're backwards compatible, and it's going to work regardless.
Yeah.
You're speaking to a very small slice of the pie when it comes to people who own PlayStation Plus or subscribe to PlayStation Plus who then don't have Spider-Man. Like that's not many people.
Yeah. Buddy says in the chat would be a bad move to give as a PlayStation Plus title after putting it on sale. Yes.
I wouldn't consider it a bad move.
But,
I mean, I understand that sales side. I wouldn't consider it a bad move, but I just don't think it gels.
I can see his argument. A lot of people would be pissed if they bought it and then found out that they could get it free if they just purchased PlayStation Plus. Granted, like PlayStation Plus at the moment is $55.95 and Spider-Man is $19. So Spider-Man's half the cost of a PlayStation Plus subscription. However, if you get a PlayStation Plus subscription, you get Spider-Man, if it does come, plus Call of Duty and other titles for the future, and plus you get that year subscription that carries over to your PlayStation 5. So I can understand being upset about it, but I think it's also a good value to actually sell PlayStation Plus. You know what I mean? Instead of buying the title, they rather people buy PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, look, possibly. I mean, there's more dollars in it for them that way.
Yeah.
I just think it's almost too big a month if they go Call of Duty and Spider-Man. And that's kind of one of my main kind of alarm bells for this thing.
I don't know that. I'd argue that with the fact that when PlayStation 3 was winding down, there were a lot of major titles that were coming out on PlayStation 3's PlayStation Plus subscription base. There were a lot of titles that after PlayStation 4 launched, they were just drilling them with AAA titles for a bit near the launch of the PlayStation 4 so that they could keep people playing PlayStation 3 while PlayStation 4 was out there. And when they were running short on stock at the time, they still wanted to keep their core audience playing PlayStation, so they were still dropping a lot of big titles on PlayStation Plus at that time.
Oh, look, there's merit to it, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to be wrong, but I'm feeling quietly confident.
No, you're confident. I can understand. Yeah. This one comes by way of Twinfinite. Giuseppe Nelva over at Twinfinite. By the way, I was almost a writer at Twinfinite at one point. I actually spoke to the owner of the website there. I wish I did.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I wish I kind of took him up on that one. But Giuseppe Nelva over at Twinfinite says, Quantic Dream teases, quote, exciting new projects in development. Today, a live stream on its brand new Twitch channel, Quantic Dreams, Guillaume de
Do love a good French name. Keep us all on our toes.
I cannot say it. And David Cage, or David Cage, as some people talked about the future of the studio. While they're not announcing a new game today, they had some interesting teasers to share. As we've heard before, Quantic Dream is now an independent, self-publishing and multi-platform studio with David Cade. Isn't it
David, as you said?
Isn't it David Cage? This one says David Cade. The article, I think
that'll be a typo.
Mistake.
That'll be a typo.
And David Cage mentioned that they're hard at work, quote, very exciting new projects. Okay, this is really poorly written. Quote, we remain game creators, of course.
Maybe the person writing was French as well.
Yeah, probably. Maybe. Working on many exciting new projects we cannot talk about yet, but there's a lot going on at the studio, end quote. Later in the live stream, he mentioned, quote, soon, end quote, as when we'll hear more about what the studio is working on. Well, it's no secret now. Today, well, they're talking about new projects. That's fine.
The new projects are a secret, but some news has come out.
Yeah. So there is some news that has come out that associates with Quantic Dream and what they have planned for the year ahead. One of them is releasing all three of their point-and-click adventure that you choose your path kind of adventure. What would you... An RPG? Paul? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
RPG of the Australian Game Awards RPG.
This is going to be horribly derogatory. I don't mean in that way. Walking simulator.
Australia Game Awards 2018, I think it was, RPG Game of the Year, Detroit Become Human, Heavy Rain.
That's one way to take it.
I'm sorry, Joel. Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, all available on Steam on June 18th, 2020. So that's a cool little bundle for people who love their Quantic Dream games.
So what's next? Where are they going then? In your mind, where are they going? What's Quantic Dream doing next?
They're going to do the same thing. There's no way they're going to try and... they're going to build off what they built on Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human was huge for them.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a major success, a critical success for them. A lot of people love everything they've done about that. The characters, the gameplay style, the way you can change your narrative. I can't see them changing too much about Detroit Become Human. If anything, I could probably see them even considering a sequel. But
so coming back to PlayStation, or all of a sudden putting the sequel out multi-plat?
No, multi-plat.
Because I could sit back and say, I quietly, confidently, that PlayStation is okay for them to bring the game to PC because it kind of falls in line with what we're seeing with Death Stranding and Horizon and God knows what else.
Yep.
You're not seeing the original game on an Xbox, for example.
No.
So,
but you won't.
No, so does that mean that they're going to just kind of accept that if someone decides they want to play the sequel and they want to play it on Xbox, that they're just happy to go in without having played the original? Assumption for those Xbox exclusive hardcore players?
It depends how it's written. Depends if it's an original story.
Yeah, that's the difference. If it's a sequel versus a new IP,
yeah,
that's yeah.
I just feel like the amount of clout that Detroit Become Human has given the studio, they are now going to be dependent on the franchise itself. Not like Detroit Become Human will become its own franchise, and Quantic Dream will rely on that heavily because of how popular it was. Granted, the other two, Heavy Rain, it's aged poorly, to be honest, and Beyond Two Souls was just a terrible
crap.
They won't consider anything out of those, but with their smash hit, Detroit Become Human, I can see them going, let's make it into a franchise. It's gonna sell tons of merch and all this other stuff. We can sell mouse pads with Connor's face on it, and people will love it. So it's just one of those things where I can see them, like, cashing in on that big marketing campaign they can put behind.
I mean, maybe they're going to PlayStation. Let's be real. The DualSense is basically a Connor edition.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Padge, this one comes by way of Stephen Tailby over at Push Square, who says, Gallery, upcoming Horizon Zero Dawn comic book gets multiple covers. While we patiently wait for the inevitable Horizon Zero Dawn 2 placed on PlayStation 5, Aloy's adventures are set to continue in comic book form. Announced earlier this year, Titan Comics is set to publish the brand new story this summer, starting on the 5th of June with the first issue. What are you doing? We've seen...
I'm fanning myself down because holy shit, this looks great.
We've seen the cover of the comic already, but it turns out it's just one of several variations. Courtesy of Games Radar, we can now see the alternative artwork for Aloy's debut on the printed page. And there is some amazing artwork on some of these. There's already like a pre-rendered CGI version of two of them, but there is like an illustrated variation on the rest of them, which look really, really cool.
First column, second row.
Yeah.
I don't remember there being... Now, please, you or someone in the chat clarify here. I don't remember seeing kind of a mechanized thing looking like that.
No, neither do I.
That looks new.
That is new.
We can obviously see watches, and we can see like
Wait,
Stormbird
no.
and all this.
Oh, no. Sorry, I was getting confused there for a second with the giraffe ones. No. You're correct. Yes, no.
I'm not familiar with that. So that's kind of cool. But the art itself looks like, especially obviously, we've seen some of these pre-rendered ones. The first two, like that's what we kind of expect from Guerrilla. But the other four, the hand drawn, the comic book style ones, they look gorgeous.
Yes.
I am so unbelievably keen on this because I love the first game, and we all know what's coming, and just get it in my life already. I'll read these comics.
Well, this is one big teaser for it. It's no doubt that, Horizon is one of the best franchises on PlayStation, and they know it. So they're just Guerrilla are gonna continue making them, and people are gonna love them. I just hope that they don't spawn them off and say, "Here's a new protagonist." I'm just like, no, it will deter me from even being interested. I want Aloy. Make a game with Aloy. Do not change it too much, for the love of God. Just don't.
Do you reckon 5th of August is some sort of indicator? Like, so the release date for the first issue, that's some sort of indicator as to when maybe this PC version of Horizon might come out?
Yeah.
I think we're talking something in that window, whether it's an announcement or whether it's the launch, somewhere in that window.
Well, they'll want people to have, the people that don't have a PlayStation, to have Horizon in their hands. Like core PC gamers, essentially, like hardcore PC gamers, essentially will want them to have Horizon in their hands to say, this is the experience. It's going to be 10 times better on PlayStation 5. So if you buy PlayStation 5, you get to play the sequel.
Yeah. That checks out.
Yeah, exactly. And if anything, we'll probably get, like, I have this weird feeling, and not to steal the thunder from The Last of Us this week, and I said it to you, and it's funny that we got a Last of Us State of Play, but not to take away the thunder from The Last of Us, but within the next week or so, I have a feeling that we're probably going to get an announcement. Especially now that we're hearing about The Last of Us. This will definitely be the last push for The Last of Us, this State of Play.
Yes.
We'll get that launch trailer this week and everything else and blah, 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 blah. But once that's out of the way, everybody, once...
It's game time.
Yeah, once the game hits, that's it. Everybody will be playing it. It's out of the way. People will obviously be following to Ghost of Tsushima afterwards, or Ghost of Tsushima. But I feel like in between that period of The Last of Us to Ghost of Tsushima, it's the perfect placement to actually drop the news. This is what the PlayStation 5 looks like.
I agree with the general idea, but I actually think it's between the State of Play and The Last of Us launching. And that fits in line with obviously all the stuff that Jeff Grubb had said for June 4th. That June 4th date seems to have slipped a little bit, but we're still talking the first week or so of this thing will happen before The Last of Us comes out. They want to make sure that right now we are selling everyone on, and that's why we've already had the Ghost of Tsushima one, and we're going to have Tsushima. Yeah. And the same for The Last of Us. That's why we're getting these now. Let's get our deep dives now, make sure people are sold on those, and they're not going to budge from those. Their pre-orders are done, and they're happy.
I think it's ambitious.
Now we show you the PS5.
I think it's ambitious to make that prediction. It's bold. But I think you're on the right track. And I'm personally, like I said, I've got this gut feeling that's going to happen as well. It will be within the next week, I reckon, that we're probably going to hear something about the box. Either a tease and says, oh, hey, here's a State of Play that's coming, and here's what the box is going to look like on this day.
My thing about it is, if they do it, let's suppose like your initial thing there where it's between the launches of the two games, at that point they're kind of implying that Ghost of Tsushima doesn't matter.
Right.
And we know that this game is ideally, and if you go pick up a physical version, I have no doubt there'll be a little slip in there that has something to promote Ghost. Yep. I think they want to get it out, this thing out before the launch of The Last of Us, because people are still going to come to The Last of Us. It allows you to go, okay, here's the PS5, but there's more likelihood that people are going to not forget, don't forget the PS4 because The Last of Us is about to hit.
Yeah.
And then we can keep you for Ghost. Whereas if you've already got The Last of Us out of your system, you've played it, it's out of your system. It's not that it'll ever be out of your system, because I'm sure it'll be the most incredible experience, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've had your time with it, you've played it through.
Yeah.
Then they announce the PS5, well then all of a sudden you're more likely to shift your focus towards the next console and maybe forget Ghost. And that's kind of another thing for me as to why I think they'll do it before Last of Us, because The Last of Us can stand up its own 2 feet and it can drag Ghost with it.
Buddy in the chat says, can't bury The Last of Us review embargo. I agree. I don't think it will, though. I think people will still be keen to get thoughts on it, because whether or not they reveal the PlayStation 5 tomorrow or the day later, people will still be talking about the PlayStation 5, sure, but the fact is The Last of Us is almost in our hands, and I think that's what people are most excited for right now. It won't bury it. There'll be a layer of coating, if I would put it anyway.
It's distraction.
It would coat some of the excitement. It would temper it, but then after that's out of the way, I think a resurgence of excitement would come back out, and people would be like, The Last of Us 2, give it to us, give it to us. So, if anything, it might even help it. It might even help the excitement. So, who knows? Padge, that is the news for the week. So, we sat down with Mr. Ryan Betson from The Pop Culturist and his PlayStation show for the players. And we also reviewed Mafia 2 Definitive Edition. PlayStation. Okay, boys. Thanks to the kind folk over at 2K Australia, they kindly provided dashgamer.com, play2.net.au, and The Pop Culturist a review code to check out Mafia 2, the Definitive Edition on PlayStation 4. Now, Betson.
Yes, sir.
It's been mostly me and you playing it, whereas Padge has only observed what has been happening within this sphere.
And little chats that we've been having about the game.
Yes, I learned little bits from that.
Some thoughts have been going back and forth between all of us. But Betson, I want to get your thoughts quickly because the reason I want to get your thoughts is you streamed the game last
Thursday.
Last Thursday, yeah. You streamed the game last Thursday on Twitch. You obviously were quite... there was the diverse opinion, I'll put it that way, regarding the game and how it's presented and some of its... how do I put this? Technical...
Limitations.
That's a good word. Yeah, tell me what your thoughts are.
Look, so if we're going to talk from a technological perspective, the game is a little bit rough.
Oh yeah.
It seems to have a lot of difficulty around maintaining any frames per second. No, I'm just exaggerating. It seems to have a lot of difficulty about hitting 30 frames per second.
Yep.
It's in cutscenes, in gameplay, in everything. There seems to always be some sort of hitching. Now we're not talking just a couple of frames here. We're talking substantial drops that actually cause the audio to desync.
Yep.
The audio itself is a secondary problem. In cutscenes, for some reason, the audio of the dialogue, which being a remaster, they didn't obviously re-record the audio. They instead just jazzed it, relayed it back on. However, the mix is a little busted, and all the audio, the dialogue, is in your left ear.
Yep.
What the fuck is going on with this game?
The surrounding audio, so say they're in a restaurant, for an example, clinking of tables and chatter and cars driving past, that's in stereo.
Yep.
Just all the dialogue is in the left.
Paul, that's just the tip of the iceberg, dude. So, like,
oh no, and I've seen some like Assassin's Creed Unity style faces and those sorts of things as well.
Only once have I seen that level of broken.
And I'm glad you caught the screenshot because
I did.
Pretty cool.
There's only once have I caught, where there is a scene where the face sort of wigs and does that weird stretchy business. Only once has that happened. Other than that, visually, it's okay. Like, as a remaster, they've really focused what they were remastering specifically.
Yeah.
And that was faces, cars, and minor details here and there. So faces look exceptional. If you're one of the main cast, you look astounding. Like Vito, the main character, looks brilliant. He and his friends, they look mint. Random NPCs, not so much.
No.
But in terms of minor detail, like cars look amazing. The way the light reflects off them, it's actually really good. The car models look stunning. But an example I used in the episode of For the Players this week when we reviewed Mafia 2 there as well, there is a particular character you find and they are eating. So they have a fork in their hand. That fork is like rough.
Yeah.
Like it's jaggy and very squarey, where the face is this beautifully rendered face. So it's very jarring in moments like that.
Yeah. What I found was, and I spoke with Simon Blackburn of Take My Tone because he checked out some of the comparisons. He was very much on the side that I thought, which was scene by scene. It depends on some of the characters that are on screen, whether or not the remaster was actually polished or not. Like, it actually looked almost identical to the PlayStation 3 version or the Xbox 360 version in some scenes. If anything, some of the remaster actually looked worse in some scenes. And I actually sent you 2 pictures while you were streaming. I said, Betson, I want you to have a look at this. This is the original and this is the remaster. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And I said, what if I lied to you and I told you that it's actually the other way around? You'd be like, well, that's not impressive. So, and basically that's...
So which one was true in the end? Sorry, just to...
It was the other way. It was reversed.
Yeah, okay.
So it actually looked worse. There's an opening cutscene where there's 2 kids, and it's up on screen right now. Obviously, you boys can't see it because I'm not streaming, but there were 2 kids in a car, basically looking out the window, and the PlayStation 3 version looks detailed and crisp, whereas the remaster, blurry textures on a very polygonal model, like very jagged model. It just...
Right, the big difference between the two, so blurriness is one, but because the PS3 looks softer overall, it all kind of meshes together in a nicer way.
Correct.
But with the push to have a 4K image, because that's what the advertising material says. This is a 4K remaster of Mafia 2.
Yeah.
When you're attempting to hit that resolution, you get them jaggies harder.
Oh yeah.
And an example, there is a side-by-side screenshot of Vito sort of looking like this, and there's a woman walking past. And if you look at the comparison screenshots, you can see the only thing that was remastered was his face. The woman's model is identical.
Yeah.
As I said, they've been very picky and choosy here about what in fact was remastered, which I understand from a budgetary restraint. Like, this is a remaster, not a remake. Mafia 1 is the full remake.
Yep.
Remake, however.
Yep.
But my issue with this is I'm unsure why they would put that limited amount of time and effort into it if they know it's going to come out like this.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, with it, obviously without having played it at all, but I mean, it's quite clear, and based on the fact that we're getting a full remake of the original, that this has received a secondary amount of actually funding compared to the original game. But from everything that you guys have described, it almost sounds better if they just went, no, let's just save .ps4 and like that would, I mean, obviously we understand that that's not how these things work, but that would have almost been, let's just kind of just mirror it exactly as it is and not spend the time upgrading these things, because you get this weird jarring sort of difference, because you're getting these issues with the audio, because you're getting all, the many things that have already been discussed so far, and the things that are proliferating the internet. It seems like it would have been better to let's just smash Mafia 1.
Yeah.
Let's really, really nail that. Pop Mafia 2 out there. Mafia 3's already, and we'll soften the blow by saying, well, Mafia 3, there's every little piece of DLC on top of it as well.
What?
Yeah, the issue with it though is it's in terms of, like, right now when I'm looking at this game and I'm seeing this level of hiccup or non-polish, right? I have even less faith, even zero faith around this Mafia 1 remake. I know that sounds extreme, but this is a remaster.
Yeah,
like this is not a situation of them making a game from scratch and having difficulty bringing, having it work under the current system. Like, this is, you have the base code and presumably it worked well on the PS3.
Yeah.
So how I can't understand why even just a graphical upgrade visually is causing a concern.
Well,
like, this is almost hitting this greater argument of, is visual fidelity more important than performance?
Well, I put it this way, Betson. It's you're correct, but it's one of those cases as well where they are going to be releasing this remake, basically, of Mafia 1. It's not just a general remaster. But I believe that a lot of the engine that they're taking would have been from Mafia 3, which was not well received. And the problem with that is cloaking it.
Not on a performance front, though.
It wasn't well received, Paul. And
No, I'm not saying that, but in performance, though, it wasn't the issue.
Paul is correct. The issue around Mafia 3 was more of the story, the gameplay loop, a sort of an empty open world.
That's true. Okay, all right, fair enough. That's fair. Right, but I think that also taking it from Mafia 3, which was still not well received regardless, they're going to use it to, like, essentially cloak some of the problems that they had initially with that. Like, there was some, like you guys say, there wasn't any performance issues. There were a couple. There were some minor performance issues in the way the gameplay loop actually delivered. Some of its fluidity was off. It just seemed a little stiff at times. Like, even Max kind of for the players this week pointed out very much for this, even though it's just lifted. Mafia 3 did have the similar problems in terms of, like how Max pointed out that the crosshair on the screen was an absolute lie. I felt like a lot of that was present in Mafia 3 as well. I felt like there was a lot of disassociating, more of the general gameplay loop that they tried to establish in Mafia 2 to Mafia 3. They tried to elevate it, but also it just didn't mold as perfectly as the first two tried to establish. And I don't know, man. I just feel like them taking that core, the foundation of Mafia 3 and placing it into Mafia 1 might be a little risky. It might be a bit bold because people will turn around and compare it afterwards. If they try to build it from the ground up as a brand new, like with a brand new engine, then yeah, it might do well. But this also harkens back to the Dash Gamer podcast last week when I told you boys, is this worth that $99 price tag? And you both said yes, where I said no. And
well, that was initially like the idea, like that was based on idea alone. The idea of you're getting Mafia 3, which by now is probably pretty good, and then Mafia 2, at the time it was just a remaster.
Yeah.
Having not played it, now I'm like, okay, well that's like, what's this going for? $59 or something? I would be so mad if I paid that.
Yeah, $49.95 Aussie dollars.
And then the remake of 1, presumably, that remake takes time and money. Okay, the 3 of them together, that seems like a reasonable price. However, now that I've experienced Mafia 2, so right now we're only talking on a technical level here.
Yeah.
We're not because there are parts of the game in terms of its storytelling, its gameplay loop. They have not aged well because it's from a game a decade ago. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
We're here, from a technical perspective, I look at this and I'm like, no, this is not worth that money.
Yeah. Paul, my question to you would be, in terms of, once again, its price tag, do you feel like they are compensating for something in terms of actually trying to put in like Mafia 2 and 3 into this bundle, where the remake of Mafia 1 will be obviously what people are buying the trilogy for, so that they can re-experience the PlayStation 2 classic in such a high resolution, like a Final Fantasy remake form, essentially, is what I would put it as.
Oh, that's a big call, but
you know what I mean.
I follow
it's
what you
been
mean.
rebuilt from the ground up again. But do you feel like they're cloaking something here, including 2 and 3?
No, look, I mean, honestly, I think the selling thing, if you're a person who enjoys Mafia games, the selling thing here is 1, and regardless of the final quality of Mafia 2 and the issues that the both of you have been having, the pitch to the consumer is Mafia 1 and 2, because neither of those games are accessible on your PS4. Now, Mafia 2, I'm assuming, might be available on Xbox via back compat, but I don't even know if that's official or anything like that, but certainly when it comes to PlayStation platforms, that's not the case. So there's certainly no case of 2 and 3 being a part of that thing, and then 3 is already currently available. So it's a really weird sort of pitch in a lot of different ways, given that Mafia 2 is kind of flopping somewhat at the moment.
Just to confirm, Mafia 2 is backwards compatible on Xbox One. So,
okay, so
there you go.
So for an Xbox consumer, it carries even less weight than really.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'd love to see, because I know Digital Foundry released an episode of their YouTube channel, like a video on the performance of Mafia 2. So I'd be very curious to see whether they do any comparison between the back compat version and this current remaster. Because I was originally thinking that maybe this is laying the testing bed for a possible Mafia 4.
Yeah.
Because there's been a long-term rumor mill around Hangar 13 that's what they were working on, but it looks as if they've been working on this remaster this whole time.
Yeah.
Well, on top of that, there's also reports that they're not obviously the core team, but they're also lending their services to, was it Ghost Chamber, the ones that were basically going to be doing the new Bioshock?
Cloud Chamber? Ghost Chamber?
I think it was Ghost
definitely
Chamber.
Ghost, but I definitely Ghost something. I think Ghost Chamber was right. Or I don't know. Whatever. The team that's working on Bioshock anyway. Apparently they were lending their services in some capacity anyway to that as well. So it could be byproduct also of they're sharing their resources there. We're also close to the end of a generation. You don't have your full team because you're dividing it up. Hey, let's commit our resources to a remaster and a remake where we don't need all hands on deck. We don't need writers. We don't need this. We don't need that. And then within that, and there's layers and layers and layers to this. Then within that, you're going, okay, now let's remake the original, and I can understand why you'd want to do that over Mafia 2, regardless of the qualities of the games. It's the older one. That's a PS2 game, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why you might want to remake that, like default to that as your primary thing there, and probably 80 to 90% of the budget for this whole project is wrapped up in that. Mafia 3 doesn't require anything, and Mafia 2 has just kind of gotten this weird, middling, borderline nothing sort of treatment here, which creates all these giant weird disconnects and the sort of things that you guys have both been rattling off so far.
Yeah, but the hurdle around that would be, because I know we're getting way big picture here, and we really should bring it back to Mafia 2.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, if that's the case, then now we're going to have to spend more time, because, you know, these audio issues, yeah, they're patchable. That's great.
Yep.
I would like to think that some of these performance issues are patchable, but I also I don't have high hopes. So they're now having to allocate more funding to this now in order for it to hit a playable standard, a decent standard. I cannot use COVID as a reasoning here. That happened 7 weeks ago.
Yep.
Not a whole lot will change in 7 weeks. It takes a lot longer than 7 weeks to remaster a game.
Yep.
So
yeah, sure.
I don't have any there's no allowances there for that, I would say.
Yeah.
Even additionally, because we'll bring it back to Mafia 2 here, playing the game, and because right now, like as I was playing up until the second we started recording this, I am middle of chapter 13 right now. So there's 14 chapters. I'm right on the end. Up until this point, nothing about this game is hitting a point. I'm like, man, I wish this game got remastered.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not finding the story compelling enough to really need that. Like, because in terms of what they're offering a crime driven story in a open world setting with that's it, right?
Yeah.
So that is what Saints Row offers. That's what GTA offers. The example I used on For the Players. That's what Scarface, The World Is Yours offered on PS2. That is what the Godfather games offered. But everything they're doing here, it doesn't feel like
necessary.
Necessary maybe, but it doesn't feel like this was such a pivotal game on the PS3 that it is worth that time.
Yeah.
You know, because the story itself is reasonably bland, and it's just kind of moving from mission to mission without even really any major pull.
Yeah.
There's no real character growth.
Yeah.
Like, the only impressive thing is there's a nice span of time, so you get to feel the changing of years and fashion and music and cars. That part's really cool.
Yeah.
But you're doing it in this open world that has no reason for you to explore it.
Yeah.
Like, apart from collectibles, it's not compelling.
It's very, like, we've got to accept the fact that Mafia, the franchise in itself, is a very niche and cult classic kind of game. The whole franchise itself, like, when it did come out, it had its fan base for the first game, and when the second game came out, everybody was up in arms, like, yes, finally, the second game's out, and everybody loved it. The third game kind of went bummer. But the thing is, with Mafia in itself, to actually get a definitive edition, it's not something that everybody was kind of like, yeah, okay, I wanted that, and it's like, not really. We weren't kind of crying out for a Mafia remake here, but cool, I guess we're getting it. But at the same time, some of the features that are in the definitive edition of its second iteration are just not lofty enough, not ambitious enough to be placed on the market right now. Like, I feel like almost that they should have waited until they had Mafia 1 ready before actually getting Mafia 2 out the door on console. And it's like, it just kind of poorly promotes how good you can expect Mafia 1 to be. It's kind of bad. And also, speaking of it graphically, I feel like some of the aesthetics that were basically plastered on the remaster was basically making the characters look more cartoony, more plastic, more giving them like each a tan or something on them. I don't know what the hell they did, but the remodels of some of the characters look terrible, to be honest. Some of their facial features, I can understand putting a distinctive layer across their textures, but it doesn't sell it well, and it just feels janky. So, any final thoughts on this at all, boys?
Look, me personally, it is a bit of disappointment.
Yep.
Mostly because the reason I reached out to 2K and yourself and sort of to have this conversation was around the idea that Mafia as a name has this prestige. There's
clout.
Like there's all this talk about there's this like Mafia. The Mafia franchise is amazing, and like from what I played of Mafia 3, I enjoyed it. I really liked the story that they were telling there.
I agree.
So I was like, cool, all right. Well, in that case, Mafia 2 should be sweet. Playing it now, I'm like, okay, it should be a remaster. It should be great. Like, what is the bare minimum for what a remaster should be are not being met here.
Yeah.
The game does not run well.
No.
And additionally, when the game is not performing well, it makes everything else look subpar.
Yeah.
Like you look at the graphics, and yes, they've put the work in, they've made the faces well, they've made the cars look well, they've made these minor details look well, but when it's hitching across the screen, you go, oh, it doesn't look quite as good.
It's not polished. It looks well, but it's not polished.
And then that on top of that, like the story itself doesn't age well. A lot of the game mechanics don't age well.
Oh, no.
In 2010, cover-based shooting was huge, and this is entirely what the big action game loop here is.
And the gameplay, that's right. The gameplay loop is exactly the same. There is nothing. It is just a quick lick of paint put over the 2010 game. That's what it is.
It is like I said. I say this not being someone that does not know how to remaster a game, let alone how to develop a game, right?
Yeah.
So I make the statement that it is a lazy remaster, but I couldn't do any better.
No, of course.
But it's just mean like what is to be expected of a remaster of a game that's like not even a decade old, or it's exactly a decade old.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then when you look at, the example like, Shadow of the Colossus, I guess that's a remake, technically. It was a remaster.
Yeah, and that's probably the big thing for me here. Like, I'm happy to sit back and kind of criticize technical things, graphical things, audio things. But then as far as what the moment-to-moment action is, it's a remaster. It's not a remake. And it's definitely not like a Final Fantasy VII style remake.
No, definitely not.
This is an artifact from the past that they've just kind of blown the dust off.
Correct.
And, buffed it up a little bit and gone, here you go. Or
That's
in theory, they should have
exactly
buffed
what
it
it
up
is, dude. Exactly.
So I'm not going to be judgmental about the cover-based stuff, and because back in that window of time, that vacuum of time, 2010, where Gears is huge, Uncharted's blowing up, or like cover-based shooting was the shit. And still is really, but it's a more basic take on that. It hasn't. Things have developed so much, and now this is an artifact, to use my word from before.
Yeah.
I'm still keen, like as someone who's not tried Mafia 2 yet and has watched Mafia 3 get played. I'm going to wait at this point and see what happens with Mafia 1. If that remake turns out to be pretty good, then I might go, well, look, I may as well get the trilogy and then just breeze through them at some point.
Yeah, so what I'm hoping, because the game itself is quite small, like it's quite linear. Like I said, I've put 9-10 hours into it at best, and I'm right at the end. I think it's like a 12-hour campaign. So I can rip through it. So that's cool, and that doesn't overstay its welcome that way.
Correct.
But yeah, it's very difficult. I'm hoping that because I'm going to leave it on the PS4, like I'm going to finish it and then see what happens, and I'm hoping that there is a patch, that we get an update. Like there are updates that are coming that correct some of these concerns, and then I will go back and give it a go, because I would love to be wrong. Yeah. I would love to pull this back up and go, you know what? This game has been fixed. I'll take back everything that I said.
Same. I agree with you, Betson.
That's what I want. I would love for that moment.
Betson, where can the fine people find you?
You can find me at a competing PlayStation podcast called For the Players, except mine has a lot more trademark infringement because I stole the name. Operation PlayStation goes by itself. But yeah, you can find me over at the Pop Culturist with For the Players.
Thanks for joining us, man.
If you want more PlayStation in your ear holes, no worries. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for having me on. I much appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you. All right, Padge. It's time to jump into this week's PlayStation operation. Tell me, what is your operation this week?
We have spoken in quite a bit of detail about the third-party presence at the gameplay event for Xbox recently.
Yep.
And PlayStation, just as they did last generation, are presenting their wares second.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've learned anything from what they successfully did in the lead into the last generation, it's go second and then do the opposite of what the competition did, smack them around a little bit. Now, whatever third parties they get, at the end of the day, people's expectations, and there was rumors floating around before this event started. Oh, we're going to get Elden Ring, and we're going to get this, and we're going to get that, and all this, and none of it played out except Assassin's Creed, which we knew about beforehand. This is PlayStation's opportunity to probably tap Square Enix on the shoulder, for example. That they're obviously very well in bed with them. Get a lot of these big, when they inevitably have their games showcase, and there's going to be the big first parties in there as well. But hit up your third parties, get gameplay from them, then announce your Horizon Zero Dawn, all those sort of, do what Xbox didn't with the third parties, and you're halfway there already. You've kind of sunk the boots into Xbox and their fans a little bit. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm sounding very fanboyish here, and I guess we're on a PlayStation show, so we can be somewhat. But sink the boots into Xbox there. It's that messaging, it's that borderline arrogance, but at the time, confidence that PlayStation was displaying in their product that got them in the position that they're in with the PS4.
Yeah.
Xbox has given you an opportunity here where their marketing has been stellar. From the moment they revealed the Series X in December, right up till last week with the third-party event where they finally made a little misstep, and it was just purely because they used the word gameplay.
Yep.
But now PlayStation has something they can latch onto, and they can do the equivalent of the here's how you share your games on PS4. Here's what gameplay looks like on PS5. Yeah. And they actually show gameplay.
Yeah.
It's a very small thing, and it's a marketing thing here. They don't... The games that they're going to present are probably already well and truly set in stone, but if you've got gameplay, show it, ram it down people's throat that's gameplay, and then put the cherry on top of Horizon or Spider-Man or God of War or whatever it happens to be your big internal thing. Show Final Fantasy VII Remake running on a gameplay in the PS5. Show us that door that's actually rendered properly.
Yeah.
Those sort of things. Show us how these games look and feel to play, and that's... PlayStation's actually, to their credit, done a pretty good job of that lately. We saw that Last of Us demo. Obviously, they bailed on E3 in recent years, but when the last time they were there, they showed that Last of Us demo. They showed the Spider-Man demos. They showed the God of War demos. They presented a God of War demo as the first bit of exposure that we all had to the game.
Yeah.
They're leading with gameplay, and they need to do that again, and they need to make sure that their third parties they're partnering up with do the same here, and that makes a huge statement going into this generation. Regardless of the power of the consoles, people are actually getting to see what these games look like to play. And it puts a bit of heat on Microsoft because they will roll up in July. They've already confirmed they'll roll up in July and show game... Oh, sorry. They didn't say gameplay. They'll roll up and show Halo in July. Now, presumably there's going to be gameplay for that at that particular stage, given how close to the release we are at that point. But PlayStation's shot a lot of shots at that point. And, I mean, how many titles can Xbox show where they're leading with gameplay? It's probably Halo.
Yeah.
It's going to be Forza. And then beyond that, we're probably going to get a debut trailer, CG, for something like Fable or whatever the case might be afterwards.
Yeah. I think
PlayStation has the cylinders loaded and they just have to shoot them.
With the situation that PlayStation are in right now, and what you're saying, I think now is the perfect time to strike while the iron's hot.
It's a marketing thing that they can really take advantage of.
I know. And I've spoken, and Buddy's in the chat, and he'll probably agree with this as well. I think that they've waited long enough. They're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting just to see what's happening. They're playing that waiting game, and they're seeing they're scoping the field right now. They're basically seeing what everybody else is doing before they turn around and do the big let's show everybody what's happening. Thanks, Ryan, for the host, by the way. They're turning around and saying, this is going to be what Xbox and what everybody else is doing, but what are we going to do? Well, let's tell you about it. And it's exactly the same approach that they had a couple of years ago when Xbox went first and said, oh, hey, the Xbox One is going to be $499. Oh, yeah? The PlayStation 4 is going to be $399. Stick that up your ass. So it's like...
Yeah, I mean, the price thing's a whole other thing, and that's going to be a lot tougher for PlayStation to undercut because they just don't have the backing. Like, Microsoft has just made of money. They could pull rank, and they can wait till last when it comes to the price.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the games, the things that we're coming for, that's their opportunity to really play with what the one mistake that Xbox has made so far.
Yeah, Buddy in the chat says they know how important it is not to get messed up like they did to Xbox. They know Microsoft would like to get them back on that. Of course they would. This is the redemption generation for Xbox. They've got a great leader in Phil Spencer right now to take them, to get them over that hurdle, that obstruction that Don Matrick left in the wake of his bullshit, basically. This is the perfect opportunity for Xbox now to kind of rise up against all the wrongdoings that its predecessor did wrong for them in terms of like DRM, the whole DRM situation, the whole oh no, you won't be able to trade games in. And look, I can understand what Don Matrick was trying to accomplish by telling people.
In some respects, a little bit ahead of his time, but he got it very, very wrong.
Exactly, yeah, it is ahead of his time, and because there is. I remember speaking to somebody about this, but there is a great, and I kind of put this more as a lecture than kind of a conference that Troy Baker has on YouTube, and I'll link it to you later, Page, and you can listen to this. But Troy Baker turned around at like back in 2013 when they were still developing Infamous Second Son just before it came out. This was at an anime convention of all things, but they were talking about video games. And he turned around and said, what developers want is for you to keep your hands on that disc, because if you trade that in, guess who loses? The developer. Guess who gains?
Yeah.
That is, the store who sells it after. That's their bread and butter after. Because they put a premium on the game, and afterwards developers aren't making the money. Each resale is essentially being made through those stores who are taking the game, giving you like dimes for it, and then selling it for hundreds of dollars. So, yeah, I can understand where Don Matrick has gone, but you're right, he was ahead of his time on that, but it failed miserably, especially within the gaming space. So,
look, the way it was pitched just wasn't right.
No,
I think that was the issue. They didn't have the stuff that people buy their Xbox or PlayStation 4 there to back up the other stuff that he was trying to present, and that's where it all went wrong.
Yeah, Buddy in the chat says can't trade at the moment. Developers must be loving it. Patch, it's time for the PlayStation pick this week. Now my one's going to be simple. I had another one in mind, but I completely forgot it. And Padge always gets upset with my PlayStation picks, but this one's timely. And the reason I say it's timely is because I think that given the fact that we're not too far away, we are now just a little over a month away from The Last of Us 2's release.
Spoilers in the comments, everyone, look out.
I have to mention The Last of Us. Spoilers in the comments, please watch out. If there is, I doubt there will be.
No, there aren't. No, I hope.
No, there won't
Just
be.
watch out for spoilers in the comments.
If you spoil the game right now, I will ban the shit out of you because I know what happens. So,
and I'm not watching the chat, so you get absolutely nothing from it.
Confirmed Dash has only played PlayStation 4 games. What are you talking about? I recommended quite a few other. Shut up, buddy.
No.
Anyway, so
right.
my pick is the
you
last.
recommended Final Fantasy VII, which is on the PS4. That's the retro quote unquote game that you picked.
But hold on a second. My
Horizon,
games.
Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and now The Last of Us.
Wait, hold on a second. My first one was Horizon Zero Dawn. Then it was Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Oh no, sorry, Final Fantasy VII, and then Final Fantasy.
Then the remake.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. It was too.
The average age of those games is probably like 2 years. And look, Final Fantasy VII blows it right out. But yeah, that's
look. I'll pick something different
diversified.
My next go, but I felt like this is the perfect time to actually tell people it is time now. If you have not, to play The Last of Us. I'm
updating our doc right now for you.
What's that?
I'm updating our doc now for you that tells you exactly what you need to pick for next time.
So
it says PS1 or PS2 game.
Okay, I promise either a PS1 or PS2 game next time. But no,
PSP.
We're a month out, and I don't think we need to kind of embellish in how much of a game, like how much of a great game this is. It's game of the generation. We know this already. It was game of the decade. We know this already. It's one of those games that is just unforgettable. And for anyone out there who has not experienced this incredibly, it's
a masterpiece.
It's inexplainable how good that game is. Like, unexplainable altogether. I can't begin to explain how benchmark setting, how it shifted an entire generation right at the end. Like at the end, we got to experience it right at the PlayStation 3, but many players who actually, like many people who played that title right at the end of the PlayStation 3 said, holy shit, where was this the entire generation? Mainly because it set a new benchmark. It transcended everything that we had experienced, especially from its own developer, who had delivered Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, which was also, something that was above and beyond anything anybody ever expected in terms of third-person action adventures. I know, Paul, you're more of an Uncharted 3 guy.
Yeah, and there is that thing, and Amy Hennig talks about it herself. She's like, if we released Uncharted 3 first, people would be saying the exact opposite, but about Uncharted 3. So I'm with Amy Hennig, and we're in the right. Uncharted 3 is better.
Bullshit. So, look, I'm not going to drag it out. We've heard it millions and millions of times. Uncharted. The Last of Us is an incredible game, and defined a generation of gaming. It honestly was the last generation's Ocarina of Time, and deserves everybody's attention who is a gamer. It doesn't matter whether you're a PC gamer, whether you're an Xbox gamer, whatever. This is a game that made a revolutionary step towards cinematic experiences within the gaming space. And once again, it transcended everything that we had come to expect and love within this medium. And I just think that if you have not experienced this yet, heading towards its sequel in a month's time, then you are missing out, and you really, really need to do yourself a favor and pick this one up, because it's cheap now. You can pick up a copy for like $10. So
yeah, I had an ex-student of mine just reach out only a couple of days ago. They just bought a PS4. And they literally gave me that. They were Xbox people, fools, but they finally saw the light and came to the PS4 and okay, what should I get? And they'd already rattled off. They got God of War, they got Spider-Man, they got there was something there that I thought what, but anyway, whatever. They had a few good titles in there, but The Last of Us was missing. I'm like, did you have a PS3? No. Like, all right, Last of Us, boom. Like that's the very first thing on the list there. It's the best game of the decade. You'll change your perspective on everything after you've played this. So.
Trigger warning on it as well, though. The parallels that it has within it, narrative-wise, that we are currently experiencing in a pandemic right now can be kind of close to home in a way. So just be aware that there are some touchy subjects within the matter. Obviously, being a supernatural story more than anything, but it definitely sheds a little bit on the fact that if a breakout were to happen, there's a lot of realities that could actually come out of it. And, with the current state of America, at least, and the way that things are going over there with COVID-19, it is a scary parallel to actually experience cinematically. So, Padgett, it's time for the drop. What is new on the PlayStation Network this week?
Some cool stuff. Yeah. Games from Xbox coming on the platform, which is interesting. But before we get to that, we've got Atomic Crops, which fairly well received little PC indie game. That's out May 28, PS4 digital. Bug Fables, not her. Oh, that looks somewhat familiar. Maybe go look into that one. I think I've heard good things about that somewhere along the journey. But anyway, PS4 digital.
May 28. Keep forgetting the dates.
All right. Castle Pals, PS4 digital, no date on it, so I guess it's out now or never. Genetic Disaster, PS4 digital, out May 29th.
Yep.
It's kind of cool key art, but we'll see.
Yep.
Hotel R&R, PSVR digital, out May 28.
Yep.
Let's Sing 2020, PS4 digital, out May 28.
Yep.
Nope. Little Misfortune, PS4 digital, out May 29. Many Faces, PS4 digital, out May 27, just to buck the trend and go with a different release date. The big one for the week, Minecraft Dungeons from Xbox's first-party studio Mojang, but PS4 digital as well. Reviews are already out in the wild for that, so go check those out.
Yes.
I'm hearing it's still
it's
decent.
It's mixed,
it's a decent Diablo knockoff, but not a brilliant one. And I'm sure being Minecraft, it's only going to get bigger and better, though, over time. So that's one thing to keep in mind for anyone who's keen.
Mm-hmm.
Pong Quest, PS4 digital, May 29th.
Yep.
Rune Lord, PS4 digital. And actually another good game popping up, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, PS4 digital, out May 28. I didn't even realise there was a new Shantae game coming, but the Shantae games are awesome.
They are very good, yeah.
And Those Who Remain, PS4 digital, out May 28th.
Yep.
Oh, what is this bullshit?
Jesus.
Utawari Rumanono, Prelude to the Fallen,
Weird
PS4,
stuff.
PS Vita, digital, retail. Presumably it's out now or never because there's no release date. Let's hope it's the latter because that's a name that I'm never going to say ever again. No, Utawari Rumono.
Yeah.
Fuck it, who cares? Wizard's Wand of Epicosity.
Yeah.
That's almost as bad as the last game's name.
Yep.
PS4 digital out May 27th. And that's it.
That's the
PlayStation video.
Yeah. So any thoughts
shit.
on the drop? Yeah.
Minecraft and Shantae, and don't play Utawari Rumono. Oh, that's the best I've done so far.
Play the web games. They need some love too.
Oh.
Guys.
I mean, it's the only game on the Vita, so I guess we've got to
Give the Vita some love. Come on. Guys, if you
Viking funeral.
did it, no. This has been Operation PlayStation-Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discuss what the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer, including next-gen gaming. If you like what you heard today, you can follow Mr. Paul James on Twitter at Paul James Games. You can follow me on Twitter at Dash Gamers. Don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. You can give us those cheeky 5-star ratings, and also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com every second Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. Padge, it's been great to talk PlayStation with you once again.
It has been good, and
Yes.
hopefully next time we do a proper episode, we're talking PS5. I'm
Yes.
waging I'm right.
But I'll see.
Or at least we're talking about when we're going to be talking about the PS5.
We'll probably be talking
Maybe
about The Last of Us, though,
Yes. We're going to talk about The Last of Us.
which we'll be doing this Thursday. So make sure that you catch us live on Twitch Thursday night, 7:30 p.m., just as we do every show. But also, if you can't be with us live, you can catch it on podcast feeds the following day at 6 a.m. So it'll be Friday morning, 6 a.m. For an extra episode of Operation PlayStation, just like we did with our Ghost of Tsushima when we're doing for The Last of Us Part 2, because we're really, really excited for all the stuff that's going to come out for that one. And also, make sure if you are following our feed, of course, if you know, we're going to be doing our Last of Us Part 2 specials, but we're also going to be doing a Last of Us Part 1 special as we wrap up the first game to head into the second game.
Little prequel for what's to come.
A little prelude to head into the sequel. But until then, thank you so much for watching and listening. And until this Thursday, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com